G'day everyone, on this video today we have a discussion video on Battle Pass Season 11. As Gaijin are putting it, Her Majesty's Hussar, as I'm calling it, Her Majesty's Copy-Paste. Or if you want to be a little bit more, shall we say, thoughtful, Her Majesty's Copywriter, Her Majesty's, shall we say, laziness, things like that. So, what are we going to be talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about the vehicles that have been announced for the Battle Pass. Obviously, the challenges have not been announced. Same with the war bonds. I'll be ignoring that because, well, I'm pretty certain they're going to be bad as well. But we're going to be talking about the vehicles and the sheer factor of why I'm calling it Her Majesty's Copy-Paste. So, of course, we're going to be going through all the vehicles, just talking about them briefly, and then showing exactly what I mean by copy and paste, pretty much. So let's start off with the boat, the S701. This is a German coastal boat, which should be very familiar to German coastal players. This is essentially an S100 with a different name, and there is only one, shall we say, minor difference between this and a S100 in the tech tree, which this thing is also based off of, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, aside from the very nice skin, which I must admit, this skin is very nice, there is exactly one difference between this vehicle and, shall we say, a regular S100. And that is these two torpedo launchers back here. These are stern firing torpedoes. I think they go forwards. They don't actually come out the back how you might think, like if you're in retreat or whatever. I don't know. I don't have my hands on the vehicle because, well, the Battle Pass season hasn't even started yet. But I think they fire forward similar to how the PT-6 does, the little US PT boat, and the Russian G5, I think it is. I think that's how they fire, because you can see the turbines of the torpedoes and everything. But that is the one major difference between this Battle Pass vehicle, which you have to pay money to buy this thing, and a regular S100 1944. Now, of course, we can get an idea of the BR and things like that, what it's armed with, and things like that. And yeah, this boat is a little terror, I can assure you that. When I've been grinding coastal, this thing is a little nightmare because it has a 30mm cannon, it has a 20mm, it has all sorts, and it can somewhat take a hit depending on what it's fighting. If it's fighting something Russian, it's dead in a second because apparently Russian Navy is superior because reasons, but we'll gloss over that. And the thing is that if you're going to make a Battle Pass interesting, you need it to have something more interesting than a couple of torpedoes, for the boat at least. Because obviously there are naval players, there are obviously aircraft players, and there's obviously tank players. But Gaijin haven't even done that, and they've completely skipped that in terms of what makes these Battle Passes interesting now. Season 10 for me was rather dry, and the problem is that they've taken a dry one and then chucked it in shall we say, they've chucked us in the desert and not left us any water, and all we can see now is mirages of, shall we say, oases, because that oasis is an actual good thing because we want it to be a decent Battle Pass, but then as we get closer to it, it disappears, and there goes our good Battle Pass. Speaking of that, we need to move on to the free aircraft for this Battle Pass. The J26 David. This is essentially a P51B-7, and the reason why I'm stating that is because that engine cowling may look familiar. That is because this is a Merlin-powered P51B. The B7 was the first Mustang to feature a Merlin engine, which proves why us Brits actually put a decent engine in the damn thing before the Americans actually figured out the problems with it. But jokes aside, because I have to do that for my American viewers, this is another plane that has shall we say, a brother in arms. Well, it depends on the matchmaking these days. The matchmaker's really weird at the minute. But the thing is that the J26 David is once again one of those that shares one minor difference between it and another vehicle. But this is the caveat. There is actually three vehicles that this vehicle shares in common. Number one is the American P51C in the American tech tree. And it is pretty much a clone of that, but I'm going to mention the other two. Another one is the Japanese P51C 11, which is Evelina, one of my favourite premiums. And the third is something that we're going to cover in a moment, but of course, I want to explain the one difference between this vehicle and the one that I'm about to mention in a moment, although this vehicle is a copy of the American one, as I've said. The main difference is, of course, some bombs, which you can see here. Yeah, those are 500 pounders, so it pretty much carries the same bomb load as as I said, P51C10. Now, it should be a little bit lower in performance, but I'm willing to make a massive bet that they'll just copy and paste the P51C's flight model, because I'm not being funny, right? This battle pass has already been pretty lazy, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, but, you have to think of something, I guess. So why would I bring up the J26 and its copy if there is one already? Well, that's because we have already had a P51C/B with, the B's were the Merlin at least, in the Battle Pass, and that is the F6C. Now, I missed out on this vehicle because I was on my break when this vehicle came out. And once again, this is a copy, pretty much, of the P51C available in America. Of course, this one doesn't carry bombs. That's literally it. So why is Gaijin going down this route and thinking this is interesting? Now, don't get me wrong, if I could add if I could add any two Battle Pass vehicles from the ones that I've missed, or at least not purchased those Battle Passes, it would be this and the next vehicle in this discussion, shall we say. Because I love me a Mustang, but I have the P39 Cube, so I'm alright with that. But, yeah, this vehicle came out on my break last year, of course. If you're new to the channel, you won't know that, but anyway, I missed out on this vehicle. But as I said, it's literally just a P51C, and it doesn't really do anything special. And when I saw this, even on my break, I was still keeping up with the game and stuff. I wasn't impressed, but, I mean, France already had a P39Q at that time. Maybe this was to suit another playstyle, which is completely understandable. But then we, of course, come to the main prize of this Battle Pass, which is where the Battle Pass gets its name from, although, in my opinion, it's not called that, it's Her Majesty's copy-paste. This is the Centurion Mark II. It's only been released about an hour ago in terms of dev blogs. And, yeah, if the vehicle that I literally don't have an interest in, which is one of the vehicles that got announced about 25 minutes ago, the M1 KVT thingy, the one with the Russian-looking things on it, if that catches my eye in terms of uniqueness more than this thing, they've done something wrong. So what have they done wrong? Well, for a start, let's take a look at the vehicle here. This is essentially a Centurion Mark I with the Mark III turret. Now, if you've played the Centurion Mark III, you'll know that turret is pretty good, and, well, it's good in most games that the Centurion features in. It does well in World of Tanks, it does well here, and, well, that's no exception. The problem is that we don't get the 20-pounder. We get the 17-pounder. Now, it says in the dev blog that we get a slight stabilizer, which is a first for 17-pounders, because we don't actually have a stabilized 17-pounder. But that's not the problem. The problem is you've stuck it with a Mark III turret, and the Mark III turret is far better than the Mark I. There's a reason why I will never spade the Mark I Centurion, because I hate it. It's terrible. Its armor's just complete crap on the turret, and everyone shoots the turret. No one shoots the hull, because they don't need to, because it's that easy to kill. And, yeah. The problem is with this vehicle, and you'll notice I've been saying that about all these vehicles, is there's already been a vehicle that is better than this thing in every single way, bar mobility, because it takes a slight hit. I'd like to introduce you the second vehicle that I'd love to add to my collection if I had the power to do so. And that is the Centurion Mark V/1 RAAC. This thing is a bit of a beast whenever I run into it. It's essentially a Centurion Mark III with, well, it's a Mark V, but I think there's a different engine in this thing. I don't remember. It's been that long since this Battle Pass. If anyone actually has this vehicle, remind me of the differences, because I don't remember all of them. But as you can see there, improved front armor, and of course the turret's a little bit different. But on this Centurion, there is a 51, it might be 52, I know it's 51 or 52. There is a 51mm plate slapped on top of the 76 up here, and that makes this tank more survivable from the front. And of course you have the drive wheels, which these do actually help as well. But this vehicle also gets a better lineup, because I'm assuming the Centurion Mark II will probably come in at like 6.0, 6.3 maybe, at a push. And the problem is that this tank just does everything better, bar mobility, because it takes a slight hit. And even then, if I remember rightly, this thing has a different engine, so it actually has more power than a regular Centurion, but I might be wrong about that. I don't remember this vehicle very well. But as I said, if I could have the power to give myself any two vehicles from the recent or from the past in Battle Passes, this would be one of them, and the other one would have been F6C, because I missed that. And I'd have loved to have had that to my collection and all that. But as I said, this just isn't, like, this vehicle is interesting because it took what we knew about Centurions and beefed it up a notch. Of course, it does share a similar hull to the Mark X, but at least this thing was unique and special, whereas the Mark II just isn't. And if I was to be brutally honest, I would not buy next season, aka Season 11. And I don't know why Gaijin are taking the Battle Pass down this dark road, but unfortunately, Gaijin is going to be killing off the Battle Pass, it seems, because I'm not being funny, right? If you're just copy and pasting stuff, why don't we just play the game normally and just ignore the Battle Pass and stuff like that? Because you'd probably be better off doing that than grinding the Battle Pass. And this is before we've even seen the challenges and things like that. So I wouldn't really be surprised if the War Bonds is terrible, the challenges are horrible. I just wouldn't be surprised. And to be brutally honest, I'm not sure what to expect, but I am expecting shit. Let's put it that way. Anyway, now that that's all done, I'm going to leave you all to it for today. If you have any opinions about what's going off with this Battle Pass, leave it in the comments below. And of course, as I said, if anyone has a reminder of what this vehicle is different, the Mark V to a regular Centurion, please do remind me, because it has been a while since this vehicle came out. I don't remember it very well. All I remember is the turret's slightly different and the hull's a bit different because it's got the Mark X armor. But anyway, I'm going to leave you all to it. Let me know your thoughts and shall we say, opinions in the comments below. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? And I will see you all on the next one.